I really like these moments because this is why I do this. A really good friend of mine who I really care about asked me today, why do I make these videos? Like, what is my intention? And it was a question that came from compassion and it came from curiosity. So it wasn't a critical question, it was just a curious question. And it really put me in this position to genuinely think about, yeah, what is the essence of why I hit the record button? What am I hoping to get from this, or what am I hoping to accomplish, or what am I hoping to share? And I really sat with it and I really observed it. And I sort of explored the ego stories and the attachment stories and the stories that I observe in my mind about why I do any given thing. And I was just outside in my driveway. I get so much just wandering around my yard. I get the best insight just doing yard work, going for a walk, hanging out, going for hikes, hanging out with my girls, hanging out with my dogs, whatever. That's when the truth comes to the surface. And I recognize the simplest thing I wanted to share right now is I'm using the magic box to openly stumble through my own experience. And I'm utilizing this thing instead of, we're all afraid of technology, as we should be in a way, where it's going and how it's being utilized. But we have this thing that I can look into and I can say, hey, I don't want to stumble through this thing alone. I don't want to suffer in silence. I don't want to give in to the separation and division and the pointing the finger at the other. And I don't want to sit here alone in my home coping with and navigating this thing that we're all co-creating and we're all navigating together. I don't want to sit here and feel what I'm feeling alone. And I don't want you to sit there and feel what you're feeling alone. We're all feeling it in our own way. We all have our own stories in our mind about why it is happening, but we're certainly all experiencing it. And we're certainly all looking at each other, just trying to find a way to work through this and communicate through this. And it's so easy to, the moment we open our mouths and we use any sort of language that is attached to an idea, that's why I try to remove as much dogma and just dogmatic language that the moment you say it, it separates and divides. It triggers something in people, and it's been programmed that way. We have been programmed that way. It's not accidental. At this point, I'm just clear. There are people who consciously use and abuse and manipulate. It is what they consciously choose to do, and we can get into stories about why they do that. But there are people in this world who are very clearly driven by a hunger for power, for dominion, for even profiting off of others' suffering, and for gaining pleasure off of others' suffering. So there's people in the world that that instigate and feed upon suffering. And so they have no care or no value or no allegiance to your ethics, to your values, to your morality, to your constitution, to your laws, to your emotions, to your religion, to your spirituality, to your ethics, or any of it. They are just driven by what they want, and they will get what they want or else. The or else is they will hurt you, harm you, judge you, punish you, lock you up, pathologize you, whatever. So I'm in the driveway and I realize I hit the record button and I share my honest moment because I'm navigating it anyway, and I'm working through it anyway, and I'm having these thoughts anyway. I'm observing my own thoughts and emotions and sensations and the story in my head anyway. And I'm observing through the social media how other people are vibing and speaking and talking and the stories they're telling. And so, I really look in social media and I'm looking for themes. I'm observing people's behavior as things are happening, and I'm observing people's responses. And I'm observing people's responses on all sides. And I'm really curious about that. And so I'm noticing we're all co-creating and participating in this thing. Many of us are feeling learned helplessness, which is leading to sort of a collective depression. So we're experiencing justifiable anger, justifiable outrage, justifiable disgust, a justifiable need to hold accountable and to set boundaries with insidious behavior, because we don't want to live in a world that allows that. And that requires a healthy community of people coming together and being willing to enforce our most sacred boundaries and our most sacred covenants and our most sacred agreements. If we don't, then they're no longer sacred. If we don't, there's no real value there. If we don't, we're living in a sort of nihilistic Wild West. So I'm sharing here because I don't want to live in a nihilistic Wild West. And I don't want to fall prey to that. I don't want to start just avoiding this expression and just saying, it doesn't matter. There's no point to it. There's no point in sharing. There's no point in communicating. There's no point in trying. That would be me giving in to the learned helplessness. That would be me falling into a story of depression. And that is not how I want to live. So my most honest truth is I'm hitting the record button because I don't want to do this alone. And I'm willing to share, as I do with my friends and family and community in person. I'm just sharing in the same way. This is just who I am, and this is just how I'm navigating life. And I'm choosing to hit the record button and to share that with people that I care about. And I don't want us to go through this alone. And I don't want to fall prey to the separation and division and avoidance and isolation. Okay? Take care.